here. It's like an animal down. I don't know. She tells it, with this break, it's fine now or anything, but I like it.
I can't hear anything Andrea's saying.
I haven't heard anything either. Nope. Nope. Can't hear her.
You're on video chat?
Nope.
I know, that's so weird. You got stuck here, stuff there, and I was like, I don't know.
Nope, still can't hear it.
Check headphones in. Check headphones in. Headphones. Sheet. Tell her unplug them. My computer won't work with headphones in.
We were talking about this today.
It's not people's day.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yep, I can hear you now.
How was everybody's week?
Good.
All right, not too bad.
Good, good. Okay, so hopefully you guys got my email. We're able to kind of prepare your role ahead of time. We're supposed to kind of role play, but I think we can just have more of a discussion about it, unless you guys are really dying to have like your acting skills brushed up on.
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, and there wasn't that much like to get into character of your person. Like it was like 4 sentences. So how am I supposed to know how he felt? I don't know. It was kind of hard, but
yeah, I don't know either. But so we're gonna go ahead and just kind of like have a meeting, like as if we were coming from each of the characters' points of view. So I think that was more the purpose of why they wanted everybody to make sure they were one specific part. So, but we knocked out the first 10-minute part because we were supposed to plan and prepare for 10 minutes, prepare our roles. So we're going to move on to the next one. And that is having a meeting. So this meeting, the purpose of the meeting that they were going to have together is to, the main guy, my person, Gilbert Porterfield, he's the vice president for compensation. He wanted to kind of get the committee's opinion because he realizes that his plan is not going to be successful without the support from the employees. So the first thing we're going to do is brainstorm some ideas. So is there somebody that says, ask the best teller? Who's the best teller?
I think I believe.
That was yours, Walker?
Head of corporate training, yeah.
Okay, you can just kind of Keith, or be a scribe and just kind of write down the ideas or type them up, the ideas.
He's like laying on the wall. Like,
At least
Hey.
20
I
ideas.
can't hear like anything you guys
Hey,
are
Brick.
saying.
Yeah.
Is there a quieter room you can go into? It's very
Yeah. Are you
loud.
guys get? Oh, okay. Yeah.
I want to go where he's at. Sounds like a party.
Yeah. My sister's like whole family lives in Rexburg, so every once in a while we get a lot of people over here.
Sounds like a
Oh,
good
that's
time.
much better. I felt like I was yelling. Okay, good. Thanks, Brig.
Yeah, no
Okay.
problem.
So we just need to brainstorm. They want us to come up with at least 20 ideas for a better pay plan.
20?
So, yeah, 20.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is kind of a lot. So I think hopefully once we get going, it'll kind of
Flow.
flow and start going. So the first, I have a question about the pay plan that he was proposing. So it said the base pay was going to be 75% of the former pay, right? So that was going to be their base pay. So say they made $100, then they were going to make $75 an hour as their base pay. And the rest of their pay was going to be flexible pay, but it's 25% of the former pay. So they're still only going to make a maximum of what they were making before. Is that right? Did I understand that correctly?
That's what I understood too,
So,
which
yeah.
I did not like that at all.
No,
I don't know that anybody would.
it feels like they're taking away, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess the first proposal or idea could be to keep the pay the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our first one.
I
And
would
then one of the. Oh, go ahead, Nate.
Sorry. I would propose a small tweak of the proposed plan. Maybe do something like 90% of base pay plus an addition plus a possible 10% bonus on top of base pay for good performance, something like that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so 90% of their base pay.
Mm-hmm.
And then 10%, you're saying?
Up to a 10% bonus. So essentially, they could make 110% of what they were making before.
Oh, I see. Okay, so their base pay is gonna be what they were already making, though, right?
Now, since they want to do some sort of, I understand the theory of taking a little bit of base pay off to, and then doing compensation pay based on performance. But so I would say 90%, go to 90% instead of 75%.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then up to let them have the ability to make up to 110% of what they were making based on good performance, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
And then one of the things that was kind of unclear. So one of the things I think that it needs to be more like clear and precise so that people can understand it. Like in the bottom, it talked about one of the guys from Harvard said that it wouldn't work because like it's hard to understand, and if the employees don't understand it, they're not going to get on board.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that just needs to be more clear.
It wasn't simple either, and I didn't think it wasn't simple and super clear.
Yeah, there was tons of different percents, and you didn't really know what each percent was. I don't know. There was just a lot of information that wasn't very clear.
Okay, so a more simplified plan.
Yeah, I don't know if it needs to be more simplified, but just more in like a more clear and concise. I guess more
Clear and concise. Okay.
Yeah, simpler, more simple.
Now that I'm reading this again, Let me read to you guys what it says. Begin by asking the committee to brainstorm ideas for a better pay plan. Ask us, tell her to be described. Try to write down at least 20 ideas from the group. So I don't think that's actually saying 20 different scenarios. It's just saying 20 things that can make a pay plan better.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with you on that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think simplifying would be very beneficial
Yeah.
so that they can understand.
Okay, let's see. What are some other things that we talked about in the... do we want to do something with the teams? Like they were trying to make it more based on team. I think make it more based on team performance. Is that good or bad? What do you guys think?
I think it can be good. I don't necessarily agree. So maybe I don't really like the whole 75-25 thing. But I think there needs to be an element of their team. I think that's important. I don't know that I have the idea on what that needs to be. Maybe somebody's got a good idea or a good plan for that. But I think there needs to be an element of your teamwork.
Yeah. What about if the available bonus percentage, half of it can come from your individual performance and half of it could come from your team performance?
Performance, yeah.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Get that down.
Other ideas?
Something that was mentioned in the reading. I'm not sure which professional said it, but they could focus on things other than pay, other incentives rather than just pay, and make things like, I don't know, team
Learning and
parties or team recognition or something like that part of the incentive as well to work as a team.
Okay, that sounds good. So include team recognition or team...
Yeah, just team incentives other than pay, because pay is not the only incentive that's going to get people to work well together.
Yeah. And also, Walker, you were saying the learning incentives. I like those a lot.
somebody talked about there needed to be more aspects of that in there. One of the professionals.
Yeah. Let's see what else.
Well, and I think one of the problems was that there was different teams and they're all doing different things, and so it's hard to measure how one group becomes better compared to another one. So I think there needed to be more people coming from each group to come together to make a better plan instead of just making it super broad.
So maybe they kind of talked about this to put the development of the plan in the employees' hands a little bit more.
Yeah, instead of just like the Gil Potterfield guy kind of just, there was like a little bit of management, but it was mostly just him. And I don't know. I don't think you're going to get a very good reception from all the other employees if that's how it's done.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Trying to think of what were some other things they talked about. Well, I know it wasn't in the case, but yesterday I read about the offering, like the paid days off, the vacation days and holidays, Or there was
Yeah.
also things like, you know, having a fitness center or having childcare or other things like that that were benefits. And what were some, I remember there was a whole section on that reading yesterday that talked about things that don't even cost the company money. And I can't remember what they were off the top of my head. Trying to see if I have if I printed that one, but I think that was the really long one I just read online. Do you guys remember what any of those were?
Vaguely.
I don't remember the thing about them not costing money, and that makes me wish I should probably reread it maybe.
There was a small section of it, and I'm trying to remember, or things that were low cost as well. Things like,
Okay.
Yeah, wasn't it like luncheons and
oh yeah, and also like late days, having, you know, if
something.
you reach
Yeah,
a
like
goal, then you get to come
schedule
late or leave early or something like that.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So we could put that down.
Yeah.
Offer,
Offer an extra day off.
yeah. Because they offer extra time off incentives or something like that.
Yeah. Sometimes those things can motivate people more than money.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They could do a tuition reimbursement program.
Yeah.
Even though it costs them money. Well, I mean, depending on how big the company, a few $1,000s of tuition reimbursement a year usually isn't very much for a company. And two, it's making their employee better. So
How many are we at, do you think?
it's like 9 or 10.
I got 10. I got about 10 so far.
Okay. We're halfway there, guys. Okay, let's see.
Not bad.
Let me think.
Well, and like one of the people that talked on the thing said that if the teams are working well now with the way they're paying, why change it? So I don't know if that could be one.
Yeah, I think that was the first one that we kind of said keeping it
Keep
the
it
same.
the same. Yeah.
Oh, keep it the same. Okay.
Something I know was talked about, and I don't know how you would really make this happen, but it was talked about to focus more on goals oriented towards the customer rather than necessarily
It's like the number or the percent, or it said something like that.
Yeah, rather than having the specific numbers you want to reach, you want to instead be more driven to serve the customer, what the customer needs, what the customer wants. Because a lot of times employees will just get wrapped up in, oh, I got to do this and make myself look good to the boss, and it doesn't really help the customer.
Right. Yeah. So we could just say something like focus on customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
And I also remember that it was saying that they wanted to focus on, I think it was competency, not specific numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So really learning the work, learning the job. So.
Yeah, I don't remember who talked about it, but somebody talked about this is kind of part of the rolling out of it. Like if it hasn't been rolled out, it's bound to be rolled out poorly because there's not enough time and you're not bringing the right people involved or getting the right people involved, which in essence, I guess you're not explaining the plan, the pay plan, and how it ties back to your company and the mission of your company and what you're doing for the customer, how you're trying to meet the needs of the customer. Somebody talked about that and kind of rolled it all into one thing, and how it was just poorly done because none of those things were being hit upon or met in his eyes or her eyes. I don't remember who talked about it, but it just didn't have any background. It was just like, here's your pay plan.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is why we're doing it this way.
Yeah, I think it was the very last guy on this main deal. He kind of talked about it.
Well, I think it was the last guy too that said that his idea is just to let that plan like basically implode, right?
Yeah, see you later with that one.
Fail.
Yeah.
And he says like most organizational change is done without an effective diagnosis. People change the wrong things because they fail to identify the root cause of the problem at hand. Kind of going along what you were saying, they don't really know what the problem is, and they're just trying to change. They're just changing something kind of willy-nilly, just change it.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So how can we say that in like one line?
Like better diagnose or have an end goal for changing the pay plan. Like, I don't know, instead of just changing the play pan, have a goal or have something in mind that you're trying to achieve by changing the pay plan. I don't know if that.
Okay, so have
makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe what he's saying is fix the problem first and then change the pay plan second.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Because I think I think it was the last guy in here, he was saying that all that's going to do is people are, instead of focusing on fixing the problem at hand, they're just going to be distracted by the new pay plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. True. Okay. What were some other ideas? I feel like a lot of them kind of overlapped and duplicated, just in different words.
A lot of people said a lot of the same things in kind of a little bit different way.
Yeah.
Some of these professionals.
Maybe do a small change first and see if it makes any difference at all.
Do a test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of cutting a whole 25%, just do something like 2 or 3%, something really small, and see if it does anything at all to what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. There was some of them that even mentioned or suggested getting rid of the teams altogether, which I don't think I agree with.
Yeah, somewhere in the myth, like what is it, the 6 myths or 10 myths or whatever. It says not to do it by like individual. Let me see if I can find it. So the myth is individual incentive pay improves performance. It says many studies strongly suggest that this form of reward undermines teamwork, encourages a short-term focus, and leads people to believe that pay is not related to performance, but having the right relationship with, the management, basically.
Okay. So we could even. Oh gosh, I didn't think this would be so hard.
Well, and one of the things is that you could look at how somebody else has set up their pay plan that's been successful, and kind of take their
Okay.
structure to your own. There's
Okay.
one that talks about that. Look at somebody else that's been successful and use their structure to make yours. I don't know.
That sounds good. So research other companies that have implemented pay changes and see what can work for your company.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you guys think about, and I don't even remember where we read it, but about the transparency that somebody suggested somewhere. I don't remember where. I think it might have been the Six Myths, but I can't remember. How they talked about a company that made available all their employees' pay, basically.
Well, for sure, I think the employees need to be involved. Somebody talked about how they're just, you know, the employees here are uninvolved in this program, and they felt like that was a big miss in this pay plan. Somebody talked about that.
Yeah, I think we already talked about that
Yeah,
as
I
far
wrote
as
it down earlier.
the employees helping to develop it. But if there's something further that we could add to that.
Yes, that was my number 7. You are correct.
Not only just having them like help develop it, but having a way for them to voice concerns of, I don't know, individual employees can voice concerns of that they have of the pay plan. I don't know, that probably just pretty close to that other one.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty. Yeah, it is pretty close, but
If we're really needing another.
Right.
I mean, I guess what they could do is roll out the plan, not put it into effect, but roll out the plan to make that available to all the employees, and
And see what problems
might-
they had with it.
Before it's
Yeah.
implemented?
yeah, before it's implemented.
Yeah. So
I
seek
think that's a good
employee
idea.
approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, which they won't approve it, I guarantee, but
Yeah.
but you can still get the feedback.
Right.
So let's say
Definitely.
a pre-implementation
There we go.
rollout.
Well, somebody talked about a benchmark. Let's see. I would recommend that top can benchmark intrinsic motivators in other companies to see how they recognize and reward. Oh, so I guess we kind of, well, no, that was talking about their plan. Well, kind of we said that when we were saying to research other companies that have implemented pay changes. But we
Yeah,
can
but
still.
you could probably still put create benchmarks for the company, and I think benchmarks are good because it kind of does make everything more precise and focused.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Like, this is specifically what we want to do, and this is why.
Uh-huh. Let's see here.
We got to be getting close now, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm up to like 15, so and we're squeezing pretty hard.
Why don't you read us what you have? Maybe it will spark our creative thinking.
Okay. I've got keeping the base pay the same. And the scenario about what I'm going to call it, I'm going to call it the 90% base pay. I'm going to call it the 90-20 possibility. Could get you up to 110%. That compensation scenario. Need to have a more clear and concise plan. I actually broke it out and called clear and concise is one thing, and simplifying that plan. I guess it's all kind of rolled into one there, but then we had the I think is more of the bonus type setup. It being based upon 50% or half of it part of the individual development and 50% team performance. And then I had team, what I called non-pay incentives, other things that weren't money, gift cards, dinners out, luncheons, blah, blah, whatever. Then we had the more employee involvement in the pay structure development, in implementing some extra time off incentives, possible tuition reimbursement benefit element, address and fix the problems first, then fix the pay plan, a possible pilot program and a test trial, review and research of other successful companies that have gone through pay plan changes, a pre-implementation rollout for employee feedback, and then creating some benchmarks and possibly implementing those as part of the plan.
Okay. Did you put learning incentives? Did you get that one? Use learning incentives?
No, I guess I probably could break that out. I was thinking, I guess that's more individual. So yeah, I had team non-pay incentives, but
okay,
let's look at those.
And also we had talked about a competency-based focus. So that could be another one.
Okay.
So now we should just have like 3 or 4 left, right?
Yeah, about 3. That puts me to 16 right there.
Okay. I remember from yesterday.
I don't know if we can make this one, but it says like, do employees see and understand the relationship between their contributions and their pay? I don't know, making it.
Well, we can just say that.
Like,
help employees.
Yeah, making sure that they understand what they're getting paid for, how they can change their contributions to receive more pay or something like that.
Yeah. So ensure that employees understand, let's see, what did you say, the relationship or?
Relationship between their contributions and their pay.
Perfect. Good one.
What about like a pay for experience type of thing? So those who have more experience in whatever they're doing is at a higher, like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Pay someone that has more tenure so that they're motivated to stay and be loyal to the company. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You could say experience-based pay levels.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, we should have 2 more, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got this, guys. Come on.
Well, I'll tell you what would motivate me
Okay.
is if my company had like a like an open cafeteria with good food in it.
Oh, yeah.
That would motivate me.
I worked at a place that implemented that at one point. Try to keep people all the time, but more often keep them at the building rather than going out to lunch, because either way, when you go out to lunch, you lose a few minutes here, a few minutes there. Nobody's always back on time, and it wasn't like super stringent, but they also recognized the fact that people go out to lunch and they're all 5 to 10 minutes late, then you're losing X, you know? And so they put in this cafeteria, and to them, it worked,
Yeah.
you know, for that. They wouldn't keep them, they wouldn't be able to keep them every day, but they'd be at the building more than they were before.
Yeah, for sure. I think they'd even be more motivated to show up on time because they'd want to grab breakfast, you know. So
Pretty good food. It wasn't just. It was done pretty well. So
Yeah.
to them, they were money ahead doing that, I guess.
Well, and it could be, you know, it could build the team feeling as well because they're all eating lunch together.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I like it. Okay, one more. Who's got the golden question? The golden solution, actually.
A combination of everything everyone's already said.
That's the ultimate plan.
Yeah.
Do everything perfectly.
Yeah. Go to robots.
We could say something like just management transparency.
Yeah.
It's a little bit redundant for letting the employees have a say, but it just kind of puts a little bit of a different focus on it.
Yeah, I think
so.
I think that's valid because I think that's an important aspect.
Yeah.
It'll
transparency in
build
anything
trust.
is important. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Build trust. Yeah, definitely, guys. Okay, you guys good with all those, or you want to keep going?
Let's go to
Sounds
40.
good.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, we'd be here all night. Okay. Oh, shoot. Okay, now we have to go through them and talk about the pros and cons. But you know what? I feel like we kind of did that. We can maybe go through it and think about if we have any cons with any of them. But we kind of already talked about the benefits of them as we were doing it. And if you think any like your employee, the person you're supposed to be role playing, if you think they would be happy or unhappy with some of those. So are there any that stick out to you guys that you feel like the person your character would be happy with or unhappy with?
I think my guy, which is the head of R&D, research and development, he's like the sciencey, nerdy guy. He'd probably be happiest with our number one plan, which was keeping it the same.
That's funny.
Well, I think that guy's got some valid points, to be honest with you. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's got some valid points. I think maybe there's a portion or an element of the pay plan that can kind of address everybody as employees of the company to some degree, but in their different tasks and their different duties and everything. I mean, I agree with him when he was kind of talking a little bit about that. He changes a bunch of his stuff. It really ties his hands on getting the best people and scientists out there. And it is what it is. I mean, it needs a salesman because at the end of the day, somebody's going to have to sell that it's a potential that you might make less money. You may make more, if you buy in. But there's a possibility of you making less money. So somebody needs to find a salesman and pay him about $1 million to be able to tell everybody, you might lose money, but we still want you to work here, and we'll give you some gift cards, and we'll pay for your tuition and whatever. But at the end of the day, you're going to bring less money home, possibly.
Right.
Because that's a tough thing to swallow right there.
Yeah, and I think that would be, my character's job, the vice president of compensation. And that's what I feel like he's not even confident in his own plan, I feel like. I think, didn't he say in there that he knew that it would fail, or that he knew that people wouldn't like it or something like that?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if
He was going to get a bunch of pushback.
yeah. So I feel like if you go into it, I mean, be realistic and expect, okay, yeah, there's probably going to be people that aren't going to like everything. But if you're focusing on, helping them to understand the good parts of it and how it can work for them, then kind of taking a more positive spin on it. Then, like you said, if you're the right salesman, you can get people to believe in any plan you want to bring about.
Yeah.
Right.
Short term, maybe, though, if it's not a very good plan. Yeah. All right. Does anybody have anything else about their happy or unhappy options for their character?
I don't know. My guy was the CFO, and he seemed like he wouldn't be happy with much of anything. Kind of seemed like kind of a grumpy guy. He wanted it to be, he wanted it to be like 60% of the pay was formatted on how well the company did, so that everybody shared the upsides and the downsides. If the company wasn't doing well and you weren't selling very much, you weren't going to get as much pay as when the company was making lots of money.
Yeah.
Which there's some flaws in that plan too. So
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good luck keeping people around. Bad days, everybody be gone.
Right.
Yeah, no one's going to work for a company. I mean, the reason they're employees rather than business owners is because they don't want that risk.
The risk, yep.
So
That's so true.
Yep.
So true. That's a good point. All right. So which is better, guaranteed pay that is the same for all employees based on the market rates and or seniority, or incentive pay that's linked to performance?
I think you got to have a little bit of both. I don't know.
I think you do too. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because, if I've worked at a company for 10 years, I don't want some guy coming in and knowing that, like, right away that person could make the exact same amount that I am. That doesn't seem quite fair. But at the same time, I see the importance of performance-based too. So yeah, I think a good combination. That sounds so easy when we say it.
Yeah, well, that's why those people who come up with these plans are big dollar people, because they got a tough job, right?
Yeah,
It's not easy to come up with this stuff.
that's
because
true.
you never make everybody happy. And who was the guy that was talking about, well, management or senior people or whatever, most of what, 60% of their pay or something like that has to do with company performance, but only
That was my guy.
a few percent of the regular employees would be based on how the company does, blah, blah, whatever. Well, it's easy to say because that dude makes $2 million.
right.
He has to say.
Yeah.
I don't give two craps about what he says,
Right.
And I've seen that and been down those kind of roads before. And it's easy to say that for those guys that are, sending their kids to Yale and Harvard and paying out of pocket. So
Right.
it's just not the same world, and you got to try to keep people in the same worlds, even though they're not.
Yeah, definitely. So we kind of already talked about this a little bit, but if you guys have any different ideas, it's asking if you use the incentive pay system, how much should be based on performance and how much should be guaranteed? So Nate suggested a 90% base pay, and then, and up to an additional basically 20% that could be earned off, incentives. Do you guys agree with that? Do you have any different ideas?
I agree more with that than I agree with that 75-25 thing. That's for sure. I think at the end of the day, whoever rolls out this particular kind of plan, you're never going to get people to give up money that is already spoken for them.
Yeah.
I don't think you're ever going to get that. So I wouldn't give my money back. A deal, an agreement that's been made with me I wouldn't give my money back to go from solid pay or whatever to something that's incentivized and it's a possibility.
And putting your
That's
pay in
good point.
somebody else's hand. It's what they think of what your work was or something like that. It's
That's
all
right.
subject to their point of view or something, 20% of your pay is in their hands, 25% is what your boss thinks, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in this scenario, this is making an assumption, but we're not talking about a scenario where they're just trying to go to a new system. It's not necessarily based on the market or dump or whatever. They're just trying to change the pay system, it sounds like. So people are more understanding about something like this. If the market's tanking and they got to go to a furlough program or they've got to go to some other thing to try to keep some semblance of their company still together as they look forward to the future. But in this scenario, it just seems like it's kind of a regular time period. Don't know that they're doing well or poorly company-wise performance. They just want to go to a new pay system, and they want to basically pull money out of your hands, really. That's what it sounds like.
But, you could turn it around. Like if you say, okay, for sure you're going to make 90% of your pay. And then you have the opportunity to make 20% more. But then if we throw in the half of it would be from individual and half of it team performance, then we could say, okay, as long as you're doing your job like you've been, you're basically going to make your 100% because you have your 90% base. And then half of your extra 20% could be off your individual performance, which you're already doing your job. So then you're going to keep your 100%. So really they can turn it into be saying, you're going to get your pay still. It's just now you have the opportunity based on team performance to earn bonus, to earn above
Make a
your
little
pay.
more.
Yeah.
What?
Got to have a good salesman. That compensations guy got to
Right.
be able to sell
Yeah,
that
he's
ketchup
got to be able to
popsicle.
sell it.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yeah. In white gloves.
that's right. Yep.
That would be a tough job. I don't think I'd want to do that.
Me either.
Really not. Okay. Well, again, we've kind of already talked about this. If you use an incentive pay system, is it better to tie pay to individual performance, team performance, company performance, or a combination? And I think we kind of decided that a combination of individual and team performance is good, except for some positions, like we were just talking about, should be company performance. So it depends on the position that the person, the job the person is fulfilling. You guys have anything else to add about that? More thoughts?
No, I mean, I understand where that guy's coming from. Whoever's character that was, they want everybody to have buy-in, so everybody should be judged maybe to different percentages about company performance, but I don't think you can. I don't know that ever really works real well, truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
For the guy on the, an entry-level guy that's, I don't know, how much I know everybody's influence gathers up and rolls up to something else, right? But,
Yeah.
and there's kind of an element of that, but I don't know if you could base that entry-level guy's pay or compensation on how the company or how how they do as a whole. I don't know. It just seems tough to do.
Yeah,
It'd be hard to keep people around, I guarantee it.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would definitely have to be more for that one guy's position, where that's basically his job is to ensure that it's working.
That's right.
Yeah, but as far as individual, most employees, they shouldn't be based on that, just their individual performance and their team performance. Definitely.
Well, and for that upper level guy, the company is his team, he's trying to, the company's more his team than a lower level guy. So he should have more risk of what's going on.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. So do you guys think that an incentive pay will increase employee motivation?
I don't know that it increases motivation. Maybe it does to
A certain degree.
I think a certain degree, but I think people get in a rut or just kind of setting their ways pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And like you said, it depends on your people. If you've got a bunch of, I'm not even going to say young people are really kick butt workers all the time, but if you got a bunch of young people that are looking to, it all depends on who you bring in. They're ready to get after it and start doing something. like we talked about, kind of what was that? Kind of pay scale by experience. You know, I mean, there's some of that classic stuff's been around a long time, from like entry level, let's say carpenters or whatever, all the way up to if you're a journeyman, you're going to make X, even if you are terrible and you suck. Because believe me, I've seen it. They're terrible, they're lazy, or whatever. But the dude's making $45 an hour because he's a journeyman.
Yeah.
Thing you've ever run across. But you got this young kid who's just learning. You know, he doesn't have the experience, but he's kicking butt and doing a great job, and he's making $18.50. And you're just like, you put your head in your hands, and you're just like, what is going on here? Just because the guy's been around a long time, and he's lazier than the day is long, bank. I mean, he's just, you know. I think some of those conditions are learned as well, unfortunately. But,
Yeah, it kind of sounds like
just,
teacher tenure to me.
yeah.
So I apologize if there are any teachers.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think sometimes actually an incentive pay system can actually cause more stress for an employee and be counterproductive.
I agree.
But I don't know. I think for me personally, I would rather just know, okay, I'm going to get X amount of dollars in my paycheck. But if I work extra hard, I'm going to get something like a half a day off once a quarter. Or maybe I'm going to get, you know, some movie tickets for my family to go to the movies. Stuff like that is what would get me on a daily basis. It sounds so lame, but I guess I get
No, it's a valid point.
I don't think it's lame at all. I think in my experience, and I know everybody's got different levels of experience, but I probably get more mileage out of people with the off the cuff, hey man, you did a great job on this job. You guys knocked it out, got it done quick, fast, and safe. Hey, here's $200 in gift cards, or hey, here's a, you know, whatever. Take you and your family and, you know, spend the next couple of days down here somewhere. Here's $500. You guys really killed it. Thanks a bunch. I get more mileage out of more off the cuff things than I do probably like your standard bonus structure.
Yeah, I think
really.
because it's directly related to what they just accomplished.
Yeah, and it's immediate. Like you can kind of give some immediate recognition or whatever the case may be.
Reward.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Okay, now that we've considered, well, we didn't really go over the disadvantages of the ideas that we had. Can you guys think of any real disadvantages of the ideas? Well, basically now we're supposed to choose a solution.
Out of the 20?
Yeah, I think we kind of already talked about it, that it needs to really should be a combination of a lot of these things.
Yep, I agree. I don't think you can narrow it down to just one and make a good pay plan. It's got to have multiple factors to it that we wrote down.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we were going to put together a pay plan, we would find a way to implement all 20 of these things because we feel like these are good ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're just elements of that pay plan, making it clear and concise. Mm-hmm. Is it keeping the base pay X? Have, you know, these are all elements of something I think that we would do if we had the opportunity to put this together, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys if, you know, we kind of had keep it the same or change it to the 90-20 plan. Which one would you each choose? Do you think we keep it the same, or we kind of develop an incentive-based, a monetary incentive-based plan?
I think you keep it the same because I think cutting base pay is going to cause more problems than it solves, to be honest.
Yeah.
So go to maybe more of the, you know, other incentives, not.
Yeah, focus on other incentives to solve this problem.
And if that doesn't solve the problem, then you could come back and maybe implement something like that. But I don't think you're at that
right.
level yet.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, really, they need to focus on finding the real issue and getting to the root of the problem.
Yeah, but changing the pay plan's not going to solve the problems
No.
they're having.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we agreed on that. Oh, I guess we were supposed to be in our parts that whole time. Whoops. So we kind of already said, I think, what we each feel.
Mm-hmm.
So that was supposed to be the next step. We were supposed to step out of character and say how we really felt. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it.
Sounds good.
Unless you guys have anything else you want to say about the case or the plan we came up with or anything.
No, I think we have good elements for a good plan, truthfully.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
I'm going to stop recording now.